Collaborative breeding projects can supercharge your collection and leapfrog you generations, but there are a lot of dangers that are involved with breeding with somebody else. So we got Shane Kelly from Small Town Exotics here, and we are going to be finishing up a collaborative breeding project that we had started last summer. We are so freaking excited about this sunset clutch, and within the clutch, we have some world's first sunset combos. Anyways, we are so excited and we can't wait to show them off. I'm Steven with Leviathan Snakes, and let's jump to it. What's going on, man? You having all the fun, and thank you so much for coming down.
Yeah, thanks for the shirt, man. I love it.
There we go, advertising, that's what's going on with this. So, all right, so before we really get into the video, do you want to talk about a little bit on what's going on? Like, you're down here to finish up a collaborative breeding project. When do you want to give a little bit of background information on it?
So about, last summer, I dropped off a sunset female that we're gonna breed with one of your males, and that female has since laid eggs. Babies have pipped and shed, and we're excited to show you the results and separate the babies.
Yeah. So before we actually get into the animals themselves, though, we're probably gonna be putting up B-roll of all of the animals throughout this video. But before we actually get into like what we hit and everything, first, let's talk about like why do you think it is a good idea to do collaborative breeding projects with other people in the hobby? Do you have any like potential main points that you want to hit on?
I have a couple, but
Okay.
well, one of them would be obviously, in my particular stance, I was having trouble with my sunset project, and you're known for sunset, so we decided to do the collab, and then we could both benefit from that.
Yep. So for this specific collaboration, it was Shane's Pastel Extreme Gene Visual Sunset Female. We'd actually used two different males in this, and that was a Clown 100% heterozygous for sunset male and a red striped yellow belly het sunset boy. And during all of this, both of them got a lock-in, so we'll kind of show off with the babies of which one ended up being the dad. But with that, we had more males that were available, so that way we could kind of try multiple things to find a pairing. Because you were pairing this girl beforehand, but she just didn't lock, right?
Yeah, the male I had picked up they just didn't like each other. And they were both first timers at that point. So now she'll be going home back to me as a proven breeder, and he's since proven multiple times over. So maybe they'll go back at each other this time.
Yep. So I feel like that when somebody is considering doing a collaborative breeding project, there's lots of different reasons why you might want to, but the fact that maybe whatever males you do have, they're just not jiving. So being able to get a clutch or half of a clutch is better than nothing at all or something like that. So.
Right, I agree. And through the process, since we both do social media, we're kind of like sharing our audiences and bringing them along, and hopefully, we gain followers and subscribers and tell everyone in the world that we're cool.
Yeah, no, it's super fun. I do think that that is a huge benefit of collaborative breeding projects, is it lets you network throughout the hobby. So like, if you're doing a collaborative breeding project with somebody, most likely you're either really close with the breeder you're collaborating with, or you're going to get really close, and you build up that trust and all of that stuff. Do you feel like, how do you think the networking potential works for collaborative breeding projects?
Oh, I think, so we were already cool, but now I think we're like a next level of cool, you know? So it just cements that relationship even further. Because it worked out great.
Yeah. Huge shout out to Chris Eaton, Snakes and the Fat Man, because that's how we met. It was the 15 Minutes of Lame competition.
None of this would be possible without 15 Minutes of Lame.
Yeah, I know that this video isn't like a plug for 15 minutes, but I find it to be one of the best networking opportunities in the entire ball python industry, or reptile industry, because you don't have to be a ball python breeder to do it. But it's just really good, and Chris has made some really, really cool stuff with that. So.
I agree.
All right, let's say that, I know this is getting a little bit away from like the benefits of a collaborative breeding project, but somebody comes up to you, maybe they send you a DM on Instagram, you've never talked to them before, and they offer to do a collaborative breeding project with you. What do you feel about that? Like, what's your thoughts on somebody you don't know collaborating?
My gut reaction, my knee-jerk reaction would be no.
Yeah.
I gotta have some kind of, unless it's somebody that's well known or something, and maybe that's our first contact, but like if I don't know you, I've never even heard your name, and you haven't built a reputation, I would probably say no.
Yep. And we'll get into the dangers later on in this video, so I'm not gonna hit on them right now, but there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and you really need to make sure you trust the person you're doing it with.
Right.
So, any other potential benefits that you feel like collaborating can give to other people in the reptile hobby or newer breeders in the reptile hobby?
Well, I mean, you kind of combine your powers. So I was at a spot where I had a female that was ready to breed, and I no longer had any kind of male sunset in the project, and I was going a different direction with it, and those two weren't jiving. And so in this case, it benefited me because now I'm bringing home some sunset related babies. I ain't gonna give too much yet, but
Yeah. So, and I like going off of that is, let's say that you're in a situation where you went out and you bought an amazing female, like $5,000, $10,000 female. But because of that, pretty much all of your money is wrapped up in that one animal. So the male that you might have to go to her just isn't anywhere near her level, but somebody else, somebody that you're really close with, somebody that you're friends with, they might have an animal that is the appropriate level for her. And together they can make stuff that doesn't even exist yet. Like things way beyond anybody else in the hobby is making. So you can leapfrog not only like your potential, you can push the entire industry forward by being able to maximize the potential that you and somebody else has worked for.
Right.
So.
Right, like we just bumped up the sunset game a little bit with this clutch, so.
We're excited about it. So last thing on this one is that if you are doing this, you have probably very specific goals with the animals, and I feel like that one of the big benefits of doing a collaborative breeding project is it can let you leapfrog those plans and potentially get you into brand new projects that you don't have to pay for because you're essentially getting half the clutch. Like for this specific example, the girl, she's extreme gene. We didn't have any extreme gene before this, so it lets us get into that gene, and it's really cool, and it works really, really well with sunset that you're gonna see or have seen already based off all the B-roll. Shifting gears a little bit, now we wanna talk about is while there are some true, like amazing benefits for doing it, there are also a lot of dangers with doing collaborative breeding projects. Do you wanna kind of hit off some of them that are on the top of your head?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, like theft could be one. I mean, you could drop, I'll just say from my perspective, I could drop off a female somewhere and that guy disappears. And no touch, you know, no contact, whatever. So there's theft, there's death. I mean, they could mistreat your animals. It might not even be their fault. Your animal could die in their care, and that might cause a little rift, you know, going forward. So
yeah, I think that there is like that relationship that you've built up with somebody that you are close, that is at risk because it could go bad. Or maybe like the way that the split goes, somebody's just feels like that they got the short end of the stick, and it could drive a wedge between people, and you could essentially sacrifice a friendship that you have if it goes really poorly.
Yeah, when there's anything with monetary value attached, sometimes people get a little weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it just happens. It's human nature.
Yep. And there are things that are completely outside of like anybody's control. Like, for example, and this didn't happen, thankfully, but like Xena, the female for this, she could have gotten egg bound. And in that situation, it's not anybody's fault. It may or may not have happened regardless. But man, that just would feel awful for us, for Shane. And like there's a level of just, I don't want to say suspicion or doubt, but it's like, well, if I had had the animal, if it was your animal, like maybe this wouldn't have happened. So.
Right, well, and that's how part of, you know, that already having an established relationship, having a social media presence. I know you guys take good care of your animals and stuff too, so like I'm confident in your abilities to take care of the animals.
Yeah.
And Steven was great with communication throughout the whole process. There's pictures of locks and dates and all the things. All the things that more things that I could even ask for, you know, just like, oh, cool, yeah.
I particularly view it as if you're the one with the animal, it is your responsibility to make sure that the other person has all the information. They shouldn't ever have to be chasing you down to be like, hey, I haven't heard anything for months. What's up? Like,
right.
So, but yes, that's my thoughts is whoever has the animals, it's their responsibility to essentially make sure it goes as smoothly as possible.
Oh, you did great. Like I said, great communication and everything, every step of the way.
I would say tying into like the idea of theft and like somebody just being bad, I personally feel that I am more comfortable doing a breeding collaboration with somebody else who is very, very active and prominent in the community because there's reputational risk on this too.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about like reputational risk?
Yeah, I mean, we put a lot of work, time, and sacrifice, dedication, all those things into building whatever level of reputation we have, and we're not going to want to sacrifice that over some project, some one pairing, you know?
Yeah,
So.
But if it's somebody who's not really active in the community at all, maybe they just are never on social media, or that they're so new that they essentially don't have a reputation to lose, and something bad happens, they aren't concerned as much about the idea that their name could get slandered, because they'll just be like, well, I'll just make a new business or something like that.
They don't have as much skin in the game.
Yeah, but we don't have that option.
Right.
Yeah, so...
There is no reset button.
Yeah. So I think that there is reputational risk both in the terms of the breeding itself, but also there's reputational risk because when you're doing a collaborative breeding project with somebody, your brand gets tied to them. And if that person goes wild and goes off the rails, that can damage you. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that at all. Like if we just went crazy and we started going on like rants and tirades, and it's like, man, I don't want to be associated with them. Like,
yeah, you never know what could happen in the reptile community. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, you want to have some trust. Like they're trying to keep their reputation on the up and up, and they're not a loose cannon. I'll put it that way.
And then on this as well, this is not as drastically of a danger. It's just kind of a fact that might happen. The odds might be terrible, and maybe it comes down that you get one egg, or there's only like one animal that both people really, really want. And while there's different ways that you can work about this to mitigate this, I do think that this is a risk. It is a risk, even though everything went right, that somebody might still be unhappy with it. So in this specific situation, we actually ended up with 5 eggs, and of the 5 eggs, 3 of them are visual sunsets. So going into this, we already know that one of us is going to get another sunset more than the other person. So with that, do you have anything you want to add, or do you want to go into actually looking at the animals?
I want to add one thing though too about the cons. If you're dropping off your female somewhere, you got to have trust that the person providing the male is going to stay on the plan. So keep pairing that intended male. And if it does need to be a sub, so we had to sub some stuff out, there's a communication involved. Like, okay, we agree, let's go this route then, since this one isn't working or whatever. So, but you don't want them doing that without your knowledge and then giving you a clutch and be like, I didn't need anything from that. So
So for this specific one, what ended up happening is the primary male, that clown het sunset boy, his name's Kit. He's adorable, love him. But he is just now, this is his first season breeding, and at first he wasn't locking with her. So I think she got up to like 20, 25 millimeters. And then we had, Shane was pretty much like, hey, all right, let's move to the backup male, which we had already established as the red striped yellow belly het sunset boy. So we put him in, he locks, and then she gets up to like 35 millimeters, and we put the main male back in, and he locked that time. So there's 2 locks in it, one from red striped yellow belly, one from clown het sunset. And we ended up getting the clutch, and we very obviously know which one is the male for this clutch. So had we not known, we still could have shed test, so that way we could go. I know that you really, really like Charlie. We love RGI. Both of them are amazing. So, and support whoever you want, but we love them. So.
And guess what? We support different people and we're still cool with each other. What a concept! No.
Publicly, behind his back, we just talk all about him. Actually, I have to bleep that out now. I think that's the first time I've ever cussed on this channel. All right, who do we want to go for first? Do we want to start off with
Let's start with the lowest and go up.
All right, so this girl right here. We are not 100% on all of these IDs, but we're pretty sure on hers. And she is a female, and we think that she is a pastel extreme gene 100% het sunset. Do you want to talk about like how you got in, because the extreme gene and pastel both come from the female. Do you want to talk about that when you got the female originally?
Yeah, so I bought a pastel extreme gene sunset, and then I already had extreme gene in my collection from another snake. So I'm calling this pastel extreme gene, and what it does is it enhances and kind of stretches out tail pattern and stuff like that. So, and obviously it's tied in with the sunset project with this. So it's an enhancer gene, but pastel, extreme gene, het sunset, female.
Yep, and I don't know who exactly is going to end up with her because we're going to do the split of this clutch on Shane's video. So if you're not following Shane's channel right now, definitely head over to Small Town Exotics, hit subscribe, do all that good stuff so you can see how we actually split up that clutch with him.
All right. Correct.
I'm gonna take her back and put her up, and then we're gonna go to the next het. So the next het, we had pretty good odds on this for male to female ratio. Again, there was only 5 eggs. 3 of them ended up being females, 2 of them ended up being males, and this is another of the females. So this one, do you wanna talk about her?
Yeah, so this is a red stripe, yellow belly, het sunset, female.
Yeah.
So this is basically the same thing as dad, but a female version.
Yep.
So there's powerful things that can be done with hets, as you'll see as we progress, but this is a solid female to have right here.
Yeah, and I am so stoked about the red stripe yellow belly sunset visual. Like, I think it's probably one of the best sunset combos out there. This girl is an amazing animal. She's not a visual sunset, but
the potential is there.
yeah, we have a almost breeder size red stripe yellow belly het sunset female, but I'm so stoked about red stripe yellow belly and sunset. Really, really good animal. Really, really good project. All right. Now we're moving into the visuals. So which visual do we want to do first? Do we want to do the female visual? Do we want to do one of the males? If we do the males, do we want to do the more genes, less genes? What do you think?
Now let's save that one for last.
Okay.
The most.
Let's do the female.
Okay.
All right. So this one, again, this is actually a brand new, this is a world's first sunset combo. So here she is. This girl, we believe, is a red stripe extreme gene sunset. So the red stripe sunset hasn't been hit before. There's been red stripe combos. I believe that Miguel from Always Evolving Pythons had hit the cinnamon red stripe sunset. But the main reason why I think that this one is specifically the red stripe extreme gene sunset is in a different clutch. We hit the first red stripe sunset, and this girl, the pattern along her dorsal is much, much brighter, much busier, and I feel like that there is better contrast with it. So again, this might be polymorphism, and while there isn't an extreme gene test right now, I do think that she is an extreme gene sunset, comparing it to what we think is just the red stripe, or red stripe extreme gene sunset, my apologies, compared to just a red stripe sunset.
Yeah, and when you compare this one to the single gene red stripe, I noticed the tail stretching on this version too, so that leads me to believe extreme gene, and just like what Steven was saying, it's got a noticeable pop to it.
Yeah, yeah. And for the red stripe on this one, the things that make me think that it's red stripe and a lot of other people, you can see the red stripe dorsal stripe coming through where you get the kind of pixelated granityness in it. There's also a color change overall to the sunset compared to other just single gene sunsets that we've produced in the past. So, all right, now we're moving into the boys. So that's all the girls for this clutch, and we want to do this boy first. Let me pull him down. So he is stunning. He's one of my favorites from this clutch. So you want to talk about him?
So this boy is just stunning. What are we tentatively calling him?
I am confident that he is extreme gene and yellow belly. He might be red stripe too.
Right.
But again, red stripe is brand new combo. There's not been really anything done with red stripe sunsets, so we can send in the shed for him. So RGI has the test for red stripe, so we already have it ready to go. We're gonna send it in to confirm it just so we know and we're aware. But I'm confident on yellow belly extreme gene. Just given
we
how
can
much...
test yellow belly too.
Yeah, we can test yellow belly as well. But given how bright those flames are coming up the side.
Yeah, so this may or may not have red stripe. It may or may not have extreme gene, but it definitely has a lot of contrast and pop to it. So.
Oh yeah, yeah, he looks awesome. Kind of reminds me of like Tiger for whatever reason, like tiger stripes and stuff. So.
He reminds me of a nighthawk.
Oh yeah, yeah. I forgot about that. I forgot about the code names. So, all right, let me put him back. All right, so this one here we believe is the closest to the all gene animal, though it might be missing one of them, and their pattern is just insane. So. Back. Here he is. You want to talk about him?
I am calling this the craziest sunset combo to date.
Yeah, it's wild.
This thing, so we think pastel, red stripe, yellow belly, sunset obviously, may or may not have extreme gene. Not really 100% sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm leaning towards the all gene animal, but look at the pattern on this. This thing is insane.
Yeah, he's super, super cool looking. And he's a male too, so that makes him such a powerful breeder. Like, working a ton of genes throughout a sunset project right away, I think that he's awesome. Like,
yes, definitely totally different than anything I've currently seen out there.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that this boy, the Yellow Belly Extreme Gene Sunset, though I'm not 100% sure on that one, and the Red Stripe Extreme Gene Sunset are all world's first sunset combos. And there just hasn't been very much stuff done with the Sunset project overall, and especially the Red Stripe Sunset stuff. And overall, it is amazing. I love the additions that these make to show different directions that people can go and still make amazing animals, in that you don't need 3, 4, or 5 recessive genes into an animal in order to make it incredible.
Yeah, and I want to add too, don't count out pastel and everything. Obviously, pastel worked good in this animal.
Yep, 100%. Do you have any parting thoughts before we go ahead and close this out?
No, thank you for everything.
Yeah, no, I'm stoked about it. Okay, so again, quick reminder, if you want to see how we split up this clutch, head over to Small Town Exotics, check out their video, so that way you can see who ends up with what and how we go about splitting up this specific world's first sunset clutch. Anyways, we hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next week.